I guess as long as, okay, the sound's working. All right, good. As long as the sound's working.
Perfect. Lovely. Okay.
I gave you a like for like and a spam for spam.
Okay. We adjust anything for you here? Sure, yeah.
No, I just mean like as well. Year last year, and then you're.
Test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Nothing coming out of here, eh? Zero. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Zippity doodah. Coming out of the monitors. Monitors are not. Oh, that's monitoring some monitors. The monitors shall monitor. Excellent. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to TEDx. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do, 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 do. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So did you figure out how far you can go?
Yeah, I did.
What's the...
You go on the stage, like on the mat, closer to the screen, then where you want to sit.
So that's the sweet spot.
Yeah.
But I'm going to mingle. I gotta mingle. I gotta go over here.
It's up to you. It's just,
I gotta come up here too. Am I still in the light? Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Could we do a bit more low end? Not on the monitors, though. It doesn't matter. If you get, main thing would be a bit more low end first. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7. 1, 2. Hello. Hi. Huh. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
good? Okay, check. 1, 2. 1, 2. Check. Check. Can I keep going? Am I still checking? All right, mic check. 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2. 1, 2. 3, 4. 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check, mic check, mic check.
Hey, man, how's it sound from the back? You go without a noise.
All right. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. Yeah, I'm good. Cool.
Are you looking for your dress? Hey. No, we'll put 3 over there.
Yeah, is this good? Okay, yeah, we're good.
Testing. Soph, can you turn off mic 1?
We are losing our listening. We spend roughly 60% of our communication time listening, but we're not very good at it. We retain just 25% of what we hear. Now, not you, not this talk, but that is generally true. Let's define listening as making meaning from sound. It's a mental process, and it's a process of extraction. We use some pretty cool techniques to do this. One of them is pattern recognition. So in a cocktail party like this, If I say, David, Sarah, pay attention, some of you just sat up. We recognize patterns to distinguish noise from signal, and especially our name. Differencing is another technique we use. If I left this pink noise on for more than a couple of minutes, you would literally cease to hear it. We listen to differences, we discount sounds that remain the same. And then there is a whole range of filters. These filters take us from all sound down to what we pay attention to. Most people are entirely unconscious of these filters, but they actually create our reality in a way because they tell us what we're paying attention to right now. I'll give you one example of that. Intention is very important in sound, in listening. When I married my wife, I promised her that I would listen to her every day as if for the first time. Now that's something I fall short of on a daily basis. But it's a great intention to have in a relationship. But that's not all. Sound places us in space and in time. If you close your eyes right now in this room, you're aware of the size of the room from the reverberation and the bouncing of the sound off the surfaces. And you're aware of how many people are around you because of the micro noises you're receiving. And sound places us in time as well, because sound always has time embedded in it. In fact, I would suggest that our listening is the main way that we experience the flow of time from past to future. So, sonority is time and meaning, a great quote. I said at the beginning, we're losing our listening. Why did I say that? Well, there are a lot of reasons for this. First of all, we invented ways of recording. First writing, then audio recording, and now video recording as well. The premium on accurate and careful listening has simply disappeared. Secondly, the world is now so noisy, with this cacophony going on visually and auditorially, it's just hard to listen. It's tiring to listen. Many people take refuge in headphones, but they turn big public spaces like this, shared soundscapes, into millions of tiny little personal sound bubbles. In this scenario, nobody's listening to anybody. We're becoming impatient. We don't want oratory anymore. We want sound bites. And the art of conversation is being replaced dangerously, I think, by personal broadcasting. I don't know how much listening there is in this conversation, which is sadly very common, especially in the UK. We're becoming desensitized. Our media have to scream at us with these kind of headlines in order to get our attention. And that means it's harder for us to pay attention to the quiet, the subtle, the understated. This is a serious problem that we're losing our listening. This is not trivial, because listening is our access to understanding. Conscious listening always creates understanding, and only without conscious listening can these things happen. A world where we don't listen to each other at all is a very scary place indeed. So I'd like to share with you 5 simple exercises, tools you can take away with you to improve your own conscious listening. Would you like that? Good. The first one is silence. Just 3 minutes a day of silence is a wonderful exercise to reset your ears and to recalibrate so that you can hear the quiet again. If you can't get absolute silence, go for quiet. That's absolutely fine. Second, I call this the mixer. So even if you're in a noisy environment like this, and we all spend a lot of time in places like this, listen in the coffee bar to how many channels of sound can I hear? How many individual channels in that mix am I listening to? You can do it in a beautiful place as well, like a lake. How many birds am I hearing? Where are they? Where are those ripples? It's a great exercise for improving the quality of your listening. Third, this exercise I call savoring, and this is a beautiful exercise. It's about enjoying mundane sounds. This, for example, is my tumble dryer. It's a waltz. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I love it. Or just try this one on for size. So mundane sounds can be really interesting if you pay attention. I call that the hidden choir. It's around us all the time. The next exercise is probably the most important of all of these. If you just take one thing away, this is listening positions. The idea that you can move your listening position to what's appropriate to what you're listening to. This is playing with those filters. You remember I gave you those filters at the beginning? It's starting to play with them as levers, to get conscious about them and to move to different places. These are just some of the listening positions or scales of listening positions that you can use. There are many. Have fun with that. It's very exciting. And finally, an acronym. You can use this in listening, in communication. If you're in any one of those roles, and I think that probably is everybody who's listening to this talk. The acronym is RASA, which is the Sanskrit word for juice or essence. And RASA stands for receive, which means pay attention to the person, appreciate, making little noises like, oh, okay. Summarize, the word so is very important in communication, and ask questions afterwards. Now, sound is my passion, it's my life. I wrote a whole book about it, so I live to listen. That's too much to ask for most people. But I believe that every human being needs to listen consciously in order to live fully, connected in space and in time to the physical world around us, connected in understanding to each other, not to mention spiritually connected, because every spiritual path I know of has listening and contemplation at its heart. That's why we need to teach listening in our schools as a skill. Why is it not taught? It's crazy. And if we can teach listening in our schools, we can take our listening off that slippery slope to that dangerous, scary world that I talked about and move it to a place where everybody is consciously listening all the time, or at least capable of doing that. Now, I don't know how to do that, but this is TED. And I think the TED community is capable of anything. So I invite you to connect with me, connect with each other, take this mission out, and let's get listening taught in schools and transform the world in one generation to a conscious listening world, a world of connection, a world of understanding, and a world of peace. Thank you for listening to me today.
From Kenya to Colombia, from Iraq to Korea, in slums, in schools, in prisons, and in theaters, every day people gather at TEDx events around the world to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. Today, you are part of a global conversation about our shared future. So what is this TEDx? TEDx is an initiative of the TED Conference, a non-profit devoted to ideas worth spreading. We grant free licenses to allow TED-like events to spread globally. This event today is based on the TED Conference format and ideals, but is independently organized by your local community. So please make sure to thank the team of volunteers who worked so hard on today's event. It's their ideas, dedication, and time that made it all possible. It's they who booked all the speakers, and the views you'll hear today are, of course, those of those speakers, not necessarily of TEDs. But we hope their talks spark an exciting conversation among you. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for openness and for critical thinking, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you'll take out. And now, on with the show.
technology, entertainment, design, TED, or in our community, TEDx. Welcome to the first ever TEDx MCI event. We are so happy to have you here. I'm Janice Feller, teacher librarian and staff advisor to the TED MCI Club. I've had the pleasure of working with these 3 young women for the last couple of years, and they are the reason that this event is taking place tonight. They are dynamic, they're hardworking, they're incredible team players. They have a passion for this topic and for the TED program. They are extraordinary event organizers. Isha Verma, Celine Doe, and Shankari Sivanathan. And I know they all have very bright futures ahead of them. We have shared a goal, stimulating ideas and conversations on topics that matter. I'd like to acknowledge the very hard work of my colleague, Mr. Paul Garnich, who is somewhere out in the dark working with his fantastic crew of film students, MCI Cinema. I'd like to acknowledge our auditorium facilities crew for all of their hard work as well with the lighting and sound. This event is being live streamed tonight onto YouTube. Enjoy your evening.
I worked with FedEx and Microsoft.
Hi everyone, welcome to the first ever TEDx MartinGrove event. Thank you all for coming. We are the co-founders of TEDx MartinGrove, and since the beginning of this, have been organizing this event for you all to have a night of inspiration.
Our theme for this year's event is Expanding Horizons. Tonight we have a mix of professional speakers who have generously gave their time to present talks that foster learning, inspiration, and wonder. We also have our very own MCI student speakers who bravely curated their own TED Talks and are eager to share their stories.
We are so grateful for this amazing turnout. This event would be nothing but the help of countless people who have worked countless hours to put everything together. Thank you all for supporting us, and get ready for an exciting show. I'd like to give a big round of applause for our MC for the night, Jeremy Trendoff.
Albert Einstein once said, "The only source of knowledge is experience." Expanding your horizons takes courage to step out of your comfort zone and try something new. Basically saying, let's not have a narrow perspective. Listen to everybody and take it all in. These experiences can often make us more mature and more prepared for the real world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first ever TEDx MartinGrove. We have some fantastic people here that will share their phenomenal stories with you. And for all of you attending tonight, you have already begun to expand your horizons. So as you hear these fantastic, incredibly talented speakers, think about all the different approaches and different perspectives that they are sharing with you tonight. Tonight will truly open your eyes to what it means to expand your horizons.
Yes. We're going to start with the first speaker, but I have some housekeeping before. If you haven't done so already, please turn your phone on or just turn it off. If you'd like to leave the auditorium, please wait until
No audio.
We will be having an intermission after our first three speakers, so please keep that in mind. Now, get excited, because I have the honor of introducing you to our first speaker, Chris Cummins. Chris has been speaking professionally for over 15 years now, and has trained over 15,000 business owners, and has presented in over 300 conferences worldwide. He has worked with some of the biggest companies that you can think of, such as FedEx and Microsoft. Chris, obviously, as a speaker, is one of the best. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris Cummins.
Hey, do you think this one works? Hello? 1, 2, 3. Does that work? You can hear me? Okay, sweet. First question then was, can I take my jacket off? So let's take that off, because I've discovered that if we can have a for-real conversation, this thing feels a bit different. What if I roll my sleeves up? Does that change how it feels a little bit even? Maybe. So there was a Harvard psychology professor in the late 1800s and the early 1900s. This dude's name was William James. If you studied psych, you might even recognize this name. Some people would call him one of the fathers of modern psychology. One of the things William James said in his early texts was, he said, the greatest discovery we've made in my lifetime, which is his lifetime, in the study of human psychology, is that human beings can alter our external circumstances by altering our attitudes of mind. Let me pause here for 2 seconds. Does that make sense? Yes or no? This is the interactive component. Yes? No? Okay, good. Okay, what William James is trying to tell us here is that your thoughts and my thoughts change how we feel about stuff. Agree or disagree with that? Agree. Okay. How we feel about stuff changes our actions about stuff. Agree or disagree? Agree. Good. Our actions clearly impact our outcome. Agree or disagree? Agree. Don't agree with that. Okay, cool. So I was trying to figure out, could we start this evening off with an experiment? Could we start this off with a social experiment? So I think that's what we're going to do. On the count of 3, I'd like to see if we can get all of us in this room to join together in a nice, polite golf clap. On the count of 3. And if you don't know what a golf clap is, that's all right. Think of a time, probably not going to be tonight, but think of a time when you saw a bad speaker and you had to clap anyway. You know what I'm talking about? Right? Okay. And I'll show you where I'm going with this in a second. But on the count of 3, we're going to do this very nice, polite golf clap together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Very nice. Bravo. That'll play. Well done. Yes. I love doing this. It doesn't matter where you try this little experiment. Every single person in the room stares right at me. And your facial expression's amazing. You're looking at me going, okay, I'll do your silly little golf clap there, buddy, whatever. And I saw probably about half of the room, you're looking at me going, oh, I hope this whole thing doesn't suck. Well, fortunately, it won't. But what is interesting is the thoughts that you put into your mind and the thoughts that you allow other people to put into your mind change how you think about stuff, which changes your feelings, which then alters your actions, which then changes your outcome. So let's take our little social experiment a step further. And this time, on the count of 3, I, Chris Cummins, I'm going to yell bravo at the top of my lungs. I'm going to start cheering, whistling, I'm going to stomp on the stage as well. And I want to see if collectively we can make more noise in this room as ever heard before on the count of 3. This is where the speaker pauses just to see what the reaction is so far.
And there's about 10 people going, yeah, I got my strategy. And there's like 400 others going, I don't want to do this. I'm not sure if I want to do this. Now, you haven't lived, my friend, until you tried this little social experiment in front of 400 border services agents. That's an interesting one. But here I was in Ottawa. We got 400 border services agents, and I said, we're gonna make a ton of noise in this room. We're gonna cheer, we're gonna whistle, and now, as part of our social experiment, I'd like you to glance around the room. I'd like you to make eye contact with other people, and we shall debrief after our little experiment. We'll discuss two things. One, what was everybody's face doing during our little experiment? And two, does it change how it feels in the room? Does it alter the vibe in this room? Hand in the back of the room shoots straight up. Sir, I have a question. I was like, okay, fire away. What do you want to know? She said, you want us to make a lot of noise in a professional business setting like this? And I was like, yeah. She said, we can't. I said, why not? She said, because we're Canadian. And I said, well, so am I. Let's just shake it off for half a second. I'm really just humbly asking them, and now I'm humbly asking us, to please engage. Is that fair? If you engage tonight with an open mind, you're going to leave here with all kinds of really cool ideas, but just open it up a bit. So, on the count of three, we're going to do this. Now, we're going to glance around the room, make eye contact with others. We shall debrief after our little experiment. 1, yes, we're actually doing this. Tons of noise on 3. 2, let's do this. Bring it on. 3, bravo! 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 Keep it going! Bravo! Woo! Keep it going, yeah! Bravo! Woo! Bravo! Bravo! Okay, I think we're done here. No, just kidding. Did you glance around the room? Because I glanced around the room. What did you notice pretty much everybody's face doing? Smiling. At least smiling. Just because I tried this silly little thing. Now, I saw a couple of people. I'm not going to call on you. It's none of my beeswax. But a couple of folks, you had your sort of arms crossing down. I'm not doing this. It's ridiculous. And then I got to 3, and everyone's like, ah! And they went, okay, fine, I guess I'll clap. And then I saw this sort of battle on their face. Their facial expressions going, but I'm not going to smile. I'm not going to smile. I'm not going to smile. I'm smiling, too. I don't even want to be smiling right now. Can we agree it changed the vibe in here, yes or no? Yeah, it changed the vibe. It feels a bit different because of one silly little idea for about between 8 and 11 seconds. Our thoughts affect our feelings. Our feelings affect our actions, and our actions affect our outcome. Your thoughts about what you think is possible for you change your feelings about what is possible for you. Your feelings about what is possible for you alter your actions. They either drive you into action or drive you into inaction. Your actions then affect your outcome. Another quick poll of the room. Have you ever been in a car that has a GPS device either built in or using it on your phone or a mobile device? Quick show of hands here. Pretty much everybody. Okay, just yell the answer out. Does it talk to you, yes or no? Yes, okay. When you first got it, the first voice that ever came out of that GPS, did it have a male or female voice? That was like 94% female. I phoned the people that make GPSs, and I said, why all the GPSs? Why do they all have female voices? And they said, well, that's because guys don't want other guys to tell them where to go. Interesting. So I got mine. It was the first GPS you could buy. It was probably about $1,200. It was the Garmin C330. It suction cupped to my windshield. It looked up at the sky, had $1 billion worth of military hardware. And it said, where am I? And the whole GPS system said, boop, 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 boop. You're currently here. And the GPS said, thank you. So I typed in a destination. This is where I want to go. And the GPS said, turn left 2.6 miles. And I said, whoa. I don't think I like your tone. A little bit aggressive. And clearly miles, we're in Canada, let's use kilometers. So I changed the setting on mine. Did you know you could change the voices on these? Have you done it? Yeah, what'd you change yours to? This is what happens. So we've actually recently just started putting Elmo on everything. And
Elmo loves TedX. Elmo loves you very much. Turn left again. Oh, boy. Hello, Mr. Noodle. Hello, Mrs. Noodle. Hello.
We put Yoda on our GPS. He's like, destination arrived. You have, yes. Feel the force now, you do. If you know where you are and you're in your driveway, you don't need a GPS device to tell you where you are, clearly. And if you know where you are, you're in your driveway, and you don't type in a destination in the GPS, how helpful is the gizmo? It's useless. Don't look now, my friend. That principle is exactly the same thing in life. Now, I'm in my mid-40s now, and I know quite a lot of people who are doing really cool things in their lives. But I also know a whole lot of other people who had ideas about what they wanted to accomplish, and they ran into some roadblocks and ran into some challenges and not really doing what they want to be doing right now. And when I was preparing for this presentation, I decided I would like to give you some things that I wish someone had told me when I was finishing high school and I was going into college, university. And I was trying to figure out my way, and I didn't really understand how a lot of systems worked. So I want to give you some very straightforward basics that one of my mentors pulled me aside and said, Chris, every single opportunity you get to do something for someone else to help them get what they want, do it. You see, if you help enough people get what they want in life, eventually you'll get what you want in life. And I thought about that for a while, and then I realized that was something my father had been teaching me since I was a child. My father worked at University of Toronto, and we would be walking through the halls on a random weekend. We'd be in his laboratory, and we'd be looking at his greenhouse, and we'd get off the elevator, and there'd be a cleaning person who's cleaning the floors there. And my father would walk up, and he would know their name. He would be asking them about their family, and he'd comment about how clean the floor was. Do you know what I'm talking about? So when I went to school at university, I realized, okay, I've been focusing just on me. I spent all of my high school years focusing on me, trying to make sure that I felt okay and trying to make sure that I had the right supports and things for me. But I was so focused on me because I was all worried about what everybody else was thinking of me. And I was holding myself up to what I thought other people thought I should do. And I noticed other people weren't treating others with respect. Other people weren't treating others well. Other people weren't helping others who couldn't possibly help them. That person can't help me. Forget it. I'm not going to bother helping them. Now that I'm in my mid-40s, those people whom I helped, who at the time I didn't think could help me, but I decided to do it anyway, are coming back 20 years later, and there are opportunities that are rising in my business as a result of these little seeds. So my question for you is, who is around you that you think cannot help you? Who is around you that you think, I don't know if that's worth my time. I don't know if I could help them with that. I don't know if that's worth my time. Who around you could you help to get what they want done? You see, their thoughts change their feelings, which affect their actions, which alter their outcome. And in a lot of cases, most of us in life, we think everyone else has everything figured out. We just assume. We sit at home and we see on Insta, we see on Facebook, we see on any social media feed, we look all over YouTube, and we see everyone in our organizations, in our schools, in our universities, we think everyone else has everything figured out. And we're the ones that have all the issues. And I'm here to tell you that all of us have issues. All of us have a lot going on that we don't necessarily tell the world around us. So instead of just focusing on you and what you want to do, what my mentor said was, Chris, consider for a moment that everybody around you is probably wrestling with something. People have health concerns. People have financial concerns. People have issues with their family. Maybe they're battling health issues themselves. Maybe they have an ailing parent. Maybe they've got a sick sibling. Maybe they're dealing with a huge diagnosis that's absolutely freaking them out. He said, I want you to just assume for a moment that they're doing the best they can with what they have. So if someone cuts you off on a highway, consider for a moment that they're just doing the best they can with what they have. And instead of trying to be aggressive and go after them, just let them go, because that's what they need to do. And I thought about this stuff for a moment. And then I decided that I would start being maybe a bit more real, and I start to be a bit more revealing about some of the stuff that I had challenges with. So I think back to the first couple of years within my business. And I was putting on this brave face about how successful I was and how everything was going so extremely well, because it was all part of my marketing, it was all part of my branding, and I've got to show that I'm really successful. And 12 years ago, I have to tell you, it was a very scary time. And 11 years ago, too, and 10 years ago, and 9 years ago. And there were challenges paying bills. And we've now got an 11-year-old, and my wife was at home. She's holding this crying baby in the basement, and I'm having a hard time scraping together the money to pay some of the bills. And yet on the outside, I looked so successful. On the outside, people were saying, wow, he's met with so much success. Look at all the big things he's doing. But on the inside, I was hurting. My wife came into my basement office at the time. I was in an unfinished basement. You look up, you see the rafters, you can see the spider webs, and you can see the little spider coming down. He's going to land on your keyboard. Have you ever worked in an environment like that? Right behind me was the washing machine, and over there was the furnace. And I've got piles of paper everywhere, and I'm trying my best to get some new clients. And my wife comes down with my newborn, and she's crying. And she says, I didn't sign up for this. At what point might you decide that we gave this speaking thing the good old college try, and maybe you'll go back to sales and back to medical device stuff where you came from? And I looked at her and I said, I'm never going to decide that. And we had a bit of a dust-up and a bit of a disagreement. But not too many months later, my wife had an opportunity to come see one of my presentations. And I was scared because finally there's someone that I really respect and someone who's super, super important in my life, and I really think I need to impress them. But there's my wife sitting in the back of the room in front of all of these strangers, and I'm pouring my heart out and I'm giving a presentation, and Sheila came up to me after the presentation and she had tears in her eyes, and she grabbed my shoulders and she said, don't ever stop this. The world needs you. It was like this little dial got turned. And I went from not believing in myself. I went from being really fearful. I went from being this scared guy, not sure if he was on the right path and not sure if he should be doing this or not. And I went from that scared place to this, wow, somebody believes in me. That changes everything. When you have someone who believes in you, even when you don't believe in yourself, it empowers you to go try new things. It helps you with your mindset, because what you're thinking about most of the time is I'm too short, or I'm too tall, or I'm too thin, or I'm too fat, or I'm too poor, or I'm too rich. Okay, too rich might not be an impediment now that I think about it. But there's all these reasons why I can't possibly do things. There's all this noise in the back of my head, this almost self-hatred, this you can't do that, it's not possible, and look at all the flaws that you have, Chris, and all the perfect people out there doing all those incredible things. You couldn't possibly live up to what those people are doing. And then one person, one important person in your life says, I believe in you. Go for it. And it turns that noise down a little bit in your head. And that changes what you're thinking about and changes what you think might be possible for you, which then alters your actions, and you have the guts to go stand up and try new things, which that alters your outcome. So if William James is to be believed that our thoughts change our feelings, which affect our actions, which then alter our outcome, what if we could embark on a journey together from now moving forward, trying to figure out how to help other people believe in themselves? What if we embarked on a journey where we tried to help people to reach the goals that they've set? What if we help people to realize that they can accomplish more than they ever thought possible? One of my favorite quotations of all time, turns out there's a misattribution, so you'll see it a lot on the net. This is a quote by, or quotation by Will Durant, but it's attributed a lot of the time to Aristotle. It sounds bigger when they say Aristotle. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And I've discovered over the course of my career that these little tiny things, these little opportunities to try to help someone believe in themselves, or to sit beside someone when they're by themselves, or to help someone feel welcome in an organization, or to help someone just push beyond that little piece of fear, say, I believe in you, you got this, you can go get it. Each one of those little tiny micro deposits in the soil around me has planted these little cool seeds. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart, it feeds my soul every single time I hear from people that say, hey, I was in a tough spot and there was this thing happening, and you just came over and you said that you believed in me when I didn't even believe in myself. My name is Chris Cummins, and I passionately believe every single one of us have it in us to go beyond what we ever thought possible. The problem is we often stand in our own way. So if you help other people to get out of their way by believing in themselves, helping them remove some barriers to what they want to accomplish, my friend, they'll probably do the same thing, because behavioral economists and social psychologists will all agree that there's this thing in humanity called the law of reciprocity. When you give value to another human being, they will find a way to give value back to you. That's how we're wired as humans on this planet. You give overwhelming to other people around you, overwhelming value to people around you, over the course of time, they'll find a way to give value back to you. And I've discovered that people say, oh, he's self-made, he's gone and done that all by himself. No, it's as a direct result of making investments in a whole lot of people over the course of my 44 years on this planet that now comes back in waves. And it's a great ride. Last thing I want to leave you with is I've discovered a secret, my friend. When you love what you do, every day feels like a holiday. I wake up every Monday morning thinking, yes, this is amazing. I get to go do this. And it's because someone, my wife, believed in me and said, go get him. So I want to leave these words with you. Go get him, guys. Thanks so much. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you.
Wow. Who knew you could learn so much from a GPS? Another round of applause for Chris Cummins for opening up the night. Our next speaker is actually a student at MartinGrove, and this is his big TED debut. Idris is very well known throughout the school community for being outgoing, involved, and extremely compassionate. He is never afraid to speak his mind. And let me tell you, he's going to share what's on his mind with you tonight. Please help me give a warm welcome to Idris Muhammad.
Congratulations. Welcome to the greatest day of your life. You are the first people to ever see someone die on stage. Those words that popped into my head the first time I decided to perform poetry. I survived, sort of. But after that horrible experience, I swore I would never breathe again. I stored my breaths in bubbles and locked them in the chambers of my heart. But the promise didn't last long. Soon, I sank below my life and kissed my doubts deeply, fought my fears, and murdered my misery. I swallowed the pride ballooning in my head. I am an airhead with a purpose, a parade balloon you cannot tie me down. Nice to meet you. I'm a poet. We do that sometimes. We take what we feel, slap a 50% off sticker on it, perform, and beg for attention. Tonight, I like attention. I like attention. Please pay attention to me now. I'm not the only kind of poet there is. There are black poets, white poets, straight poets, gay poets, young poets, old poets, and including but not limited to know-it-all poets. In the words of Ian Kettigrew, what is the difference between God and a slam poet? God certainly doesn't think he's a slam poet, but the slam poet certainly thinks he's God. But did I mention that God hates us? Because being a poet is an act of defiance against the big whoever in the sky and say, screw you, this is my art! But please don't ruin my life because things are getting really good for me right now, thank you. But don't think that we're godly. Eventually, you're going to realize that there's often more demand for what we cannot supply. Eventually, you're going to realize that, see, I can't supply. There is more demand for what we cannot supply. I can't keep pumping out feelings like a poems factory, people. Eventually, you're going to get a crappy product, something like this. I feel things. A lot of things. Yeah, not my best work. But being a poet is the best and worst decision you could ever make. You mash your art and your life together, and you realize that they're actually one and the same. You literally cannot live without making art. And sometimes it sucks. Because everyone wants to hear my lungs singing falsetto, to hear poetic truth standing on trial, to betray the bronchioles, to cast off the capillaries, to boil the blood itself without letting me breathe for a second. They value the art more than the artist, the product, more than the producer, the poetry, more than the person every day. It seems my ribs become smaller and smaller jail cell for my poetic heart. Because the heart is the only part of the body that poets care about. If there were laws against excessive emotion, all poets would go to jail. Indeed, I am one Negro who sells his feelings to strangers on the street and begs for attention. In the Ivy League, they say it's lonely at the top. In poetry, we say it's lonely being like this. But somehow, every time I step on a stage, lines and jokes swimming in my oceanic brain, I feel at home. Writing and empowering and performing makes me feel warm inside. Poetry gives me that warm feeling inside. So stop trying to drown your talents. Dive deep into them and find your treasure chest, because poetry is a freaking gift. The day I stepped on that stage was the day everything changed. I didn't die that day, and it's all thanks to poetry. Poetry didn't change my life, it saved my life. You see, I used to think I was more than my gift, that I was more than poetry itself. But that's the thing, my gift is more than anything I could ever be. Poetry is the gift that keeps on giving. Congratulations, I just gave it to you. My name is Harrison Hong, and I'm here to tell you a story. Now, I'm sure many of you, or at least I hope some of you, had happy childhoods. I can't really say the same for myself. You see, growing up, I was a very lonely child. I lived in a bad neighborhood, still do, but my parents were very overprotective and could easily be labeled as helicopter parents. I couldn't do a lot of things that some of you ought to do. I couldn't go to the park after school. I couldn't ride my bike in the neighborhood. I couldn't even go to people's houses because my parents were just so scared of me, you know? And most of the time, I stayed with my parents. All the time, I was either at home or at school, and I felt trapped. And I remember on my loneliest nights, I would stand at the windowsill in my bedroom, and I would stare out the window, and I would sing softly to myself to calm myself down. And it worked. And after, I would pull out a good book sometimes, and I would crawl into bed, and I would fall asleep reading. And I did that for many, many nights. Now, you see, I was growing both emotionally and physically over the years, drinking milk guys because the windowsill is not my waist, so that's a thing. But my vocabulary also grew. I soon realized that in elementary school, I knew big words like discombobulated and articulation and buffoonery, words that a lot of people my age didn't really know. There was a crossing guard that I saw on my way to school every day, and he would say, "Professor, tell me the word today." And I would say, "Well, you know, sir, I know this big word, articulation." And he asked what it means, and I'd say, "I don't really know, but I can say it." And I felt good. And it made me feel special. But what really made me feel like a superstar was that I was able to string words together in a way that most kids my age couldn't. I excelled in English in elementary and middle school, and I received awards in the subject, and I was able to create stories and captivate audiences. My teachers were both shocked and proud of me. Fast forward to 8th grade. My teacher, Mr. Cook, presented us with an assignment to create a poetry book. I'd written poems before, obviously, a lot of them, but I'd never really put them in a collection of some sort. What's worse is that Mr. Cook wanted us to wanted us to sort of put all of our feelings and emotions into it. Now, I was 13, and I said, "What emotions, sir?" But I did it anyways. I made the poem book, and I gave it in, and I got the highest mark in the class, and that felt great, but there was this feeling that I had made a mistake, that I'd shared too much, you know, that people knew too much about me. And that feeling lingered. There was this voice in the back of my head saying, "You don't have to be so personal, you know? Poetry doesn't have to be so personal." And the voice followed me into high school. I started in grade 9 and I felt so fresh and I felt like I could start as an independent person. But the feeling of being closed off was still there in the back of my head saying, keep quiet, don't tell them anything. But it seemed that I was writing and writing and I was letting people know a little bit more about me. But as the years gone on, as the years went on, I started to sort of open up to people, you know? And see, it's hard to describe the way you feel when you're so young and you know what's going on. Well, in grade 9, I started off fresh. I found new friends and I felt much more independent as a person, but that feeling was still there. But I was writing again. And I was filling entire notebooks. And even when I was staying home, I felt so down because I relied on other people's energy, you know? And I just felt so lonely that I was writing. And I was filling notebook after notebook, poem after poem, and I felt good. And it was strange because I was struggling and I was thriving at the same time. More struggles came. I was bullied a lot in high school. A lot of people called me the word faggot, and it hurt. Even now, when I walk down the hallways, I can hear people whispering under their breaths, and it hurts still. I experienced a lot of racism as well. I got followed in stores, got called the N-word on many occasions. But again, I was writing. I was filling notebook after notebook, poem after poem about how I felt. I was taking the words that these people were using against me to hurt me, but I was using it to create art. I literally fought fire with fire. And I felt special, and I knew that I had a superpower. I could take anything and make it into poetry, and make it into art. Fast forward to grade 11, September 2016, and I'm feeling really great, and I know that I have a superpower. My friend Gabrielle approaches me and says, hey, I'm part of a poetry program at our local library, maybe you want to check it out. I may write poetry too. So I say, you know, I could use some more friends, you know, good food, things like that. It'll be fun. So I go to the poetry program, and I walk in feeling like Superman, and I walk out feeling like Clark Kent got stripped bare. I felt like I didn't really know anything, because I met Patrick DeBelin, a champion poet. He was a seasoned performer on platforms like CBC and TED himself. Hearing Patrick perform made me feel like I didn't really know anything. And that wasn't his fault, because I felt just as inexperienced as the other high schoolers who were there, but I felt like I was the worst out of them. I felt like I didn't really know anything. And it hurt. So I told myself something that I never told myself before. I told myself I didn't know how to write. I told myself that I wasn't good at poetry. And that I had everything to learn from these people. Over the course of 2 years of the PSLL program, I started to learn how to write poetry again, except it was sort of like learning how to walk and talk after doing it for 17 years. And it was pretty hard. I got tips on how to make writing flow, how to captivate audiences all over again, and how to carry myself as an individual. Slowly, these people became like a second family for me. And I know some of them are in the audience today, and I just want to say that I love and appreciate you so much. Now, the real test of how much I have learned came in December of 2017, just last year. Twice a year, the PSLL program brings all of its main libraries together that offer the program, and they compete. I was pretty confident, and everybody else in the club said that I could do it, so I went ahead and I competed. When I got there, a chill kind of ran down my spine as I walked up to the sign-up desk, and I went, oh, hi, how are you? And I got to sign up. And can we get a dun-dun? Can you guys on 3 say dun-dun-dun? 1, 2, 3. Dun-dun-dun. That was a big noise in my head when I walked up, because the name that was on the top of the sign-up sheet was Casey Garcia. And you know, Casey Garcia is basically Poetry Saved Our Lives royalty. He's Patrick's own mentee, his own mentee, and he's basically family to him. This guy could breathe and it would be branded as poetry. And I knew I couldn't compete with him. So I walk over to my friend Michael. I know Michael's in the audience today, and I say, Michael, take my wig, because it has been snatched. Because I was serious, guys. But everybody else in the program said, no, you can do it. We believe in you. You're amazing and you're representing us. So I go on stage and I perform. And I make it to the second round, which is pretty shocking. And then I did again. And I won. I beat Casey. And my first reaction was like, recount. But I realized that I won because of my own work, of my own feelings and emotions. I brought PSLL its first ever win from Wheatonville. And I realized that up on that stage, that big winner's smile, I realized that all of the nights alone in my bedroom, staring out of that window, all of the days where I was stuck inside, all of the bullying and all of the slurs thrown at me. This is what it was all for. This feeling of being the best, of being valued. Poetry gives me that feeling every day, and I'm so grateful for it. Fast forward to now. It's April. It's been a few months since I won, but every time I think back to that moment, I remember for some reason Meryl Streep up on that stage on the Golden Globes talking about her life and how all of it had gone towards winning and how she felt grateful. And the last line of her speech really resonated with me, and it was by the late Carrie Fisher. Take your broken heart and make it into art. And that hit me so hard because that's exactly what I had done. I took my struggles and I took my broken heart and I made it into art. Because people don't understand that poetry is the hardest kind of art to create. You take words that we use on a daily basis and we make it into something beautiful. And I feel like I've done just that. I molded myself from the bullied, lonely kid into the beautiful poet that I am today. Poetry really did save my life. And it could save your life too. All you have to do is reach inside of yourself and find the courage to write. Thank you.
Can you believe that he's never given a TED Talk before? You know what? I didn't even write a poem. I'm so inspired. For our next speaker, let me introduce you to Asante Houghton. Asante combines his talk with spoken word and rap to navigate you through his journey of losing hope, finding it again, and using that hope as a springboard to propel him towards a meaningful and happy life. Not only has Asante made several TV appearances and featured in the documentary Three Voices, he has spoken internationally, presenting in Canada, the U.S., Colombia, and most recently Ireland. Please put your hands together and help me welcome Asante Houghton.
So many years I wanted to say to you, without you, I don't know how I would make it through. Words couldn't express the way I hated you. All I ever wanted was just to play with you. See, life sometimes gives us the opportunity to engage in second chances. And for good reason, sometimes we let go of these second chances. And I used to let go of second chances all the time myself, until I had the opportunity to give a second chance to someone I hated. And that person was my father. You see, I hated my father so much because I felt like he was responsible for everything bad, everything that sucked in my life. He was responsible for the reason that I grew up alone, and he was responsible for, my terrible high school years, and he was responsible for why my mother's mental health broke down, and he was responsible for why I grew up so poor. He was responsible for everything bad, so I hated him. But when I had the opportunity to give my father a second chance, I did. And this is the story of my father. And this is the story about the power of second chances. I'm going to tell you the story through memories with my father. The first memory is called Wonderland. It was a perfect summer day, and it was hot, and it was sunny, but not too hot, perfect. And I remember I was just begging my father so much. I just want to go to Wonderland, Canada's Wonderland so much. And Canada's Wonderland is a place where they got roller coasters and, they got a water park and they have candy and ice cream. It was like kids' paradise. So of course I wanted to go. But for me, that wasn't the main draw. The main draw for me was they had this new ride called the Bat. And I was like, they said it was going to be the scariest ride ever released in Canadian history. And at 5 years old, I'm like, okay, this is me. I got to challenge this thing. So I begged and I begged and I begged my father, and then eventually he took me to Wonderland. And to be honest, I don't really remember that much about the day, and I remember some details. It was kind of a blur, but I do remember one thing. I was wearing a red baseball cap that day. So anyway, we ride at Wonderland, and I wasn't really interested in any of the other rides. I'm like, let's go straight to the back, let's do it, let's go. So we got in line, and when we were there, I could just feel the excitement building up inside of me. And by the time we got to the front of the line, I was literally like jumping up and down, I was bouncing, I was ready to go. And then I saw something terrible. The ride operator was talking to my father. And judging by the look on his face, something wasn't good. Something wasn't working. And then the ride operator came over to me, and he said, he pointed to this line on the wall, this horizontal line, and he said, you have to be exactly that tall to get on this ride. Then I looked at the line on the wall, and I said, damn. I'm not going to make it. So anyway, I'm like, I didn't come all this way. I didn't beg my father for weeks. I didn't come all this way to not get on the back. No matter what, I'm going to get on this ride. So I'm like trying to figure it out, and I'm like, baseball cap. So I took the baseball cap and I kind of rearranged it on my head to give me a few extra inches. Then I walked up to that line like a boss. I stood straight, tall like this. Next thing you know, I'm on the back. And it was the most exhilarating 3 minutes in my entire life. And I closed my eyes through almost all of it. But when I got off the back, I felt incredible. And the ride was great, but the best part about that day was I got to spend it with my father. That day at Wonderland was the best childhood memory I had with my dad. The next memory is called, Why Don't You Love Me? At 11 years old, I hadn't seen my father for over 6 months. And so after that day at Wonderland, things just got a lot worse from there. My mom split from my father because they're having a lot of issues, some domestic violence stuff. And, after that, I just didn't really see my father very much at all. I had very few happy childhood memories of him. And all I remember was all the times he didn't show up. He was never there. He didn't come to parent-teacher conferences. He never came to school performances. He didn't come to sports games. He was never there. There were so many broken promises, so many tears. So over the years, we drifted away. So at 11 years old, I hadn't seen him for over 6 months. And then he called me. I remember it very clearly. It was after dinner. I picked up the phone, and we were talking for about 20 minutes. He gave me updates on his life, asked me about updates on my life. And then I just went off course. I stopped him, I interrupted, and I said, why don't you love me? And on the other end of the phone was just absolute silence, nothing. So I immediately broke down and I started crying, and I was just inconsolable. And at that moment, I knew that something inside of me had changed. Something was different. Something was broken. I lost all trust in this person. But I also lost trust in anybody at all. The next memory is called A Mysterious Message. So after that, about 2 years after that phone call, my father threatened to take my mom's life. So what that meant was my mom took me and my 2 older brothers and moved us across the city. And immediately, very suddenly, I was cut off from everything I knew in my childhood, my community, my friends. All of it was gone. And when I turned 14 years old, my mom's mental health started to get worse, and she threatened to take her own life. When I turned 15 years old, my mom started to hallucinate, and she started to hear voices, and she went through a lot of mental health things, and she almost lost her life to health complications. So when I was 15 years old, I went through this just very deep, dark depression, and I was experiencing this anxiety that made it very difficult for me to leave the house. And the trust issues I had from my father made it so that my acquaintances never became friends, my crushes never became relationships. I didn't trust anybody at all. I didn't get close to anybody at all. And as I entered my 20s, my mom was getting better, but I wasn't. And then I received a mysterious message on social media. It was a message from a woman, and this woman, she shared the same last name as me. So I immediately thought, I wonder if her and I were related. And the message she sent was very simple. She was like, hi. And then I said hi back. And that part of me was like, I wonder if you're trying to like holler at me, slide up into my DMs. Right? But then anyway, her and I, we exchanged some messages, we go back and forth, and then she says, she asked me a question, and this question will change my life. She asked me, do you know Mike? And I said, yeah, I know Mike. That's my father. So a few days after that, I got this email in my inbox, and it's an email from my father. And then I open it, and essentially it was this, it was a short email, a few paragraphs that said, I know that I hurt you, I made a lot of mistakes, I'm sorry, and I would like to see you. And my response to that was, nah, F this guy. No, I'm not doing that. I was so angry. But to be honest, I read that email maybe 15 or 20 times over the next week or so, trying to figure out what I should do. And I didn't know what I should do, so I went to the person who I always went to when I needed advice. I went to my mom. And I told her what happened. I told her that my father reached out to me after all these years. I said, what should I do? And she completely just flabbergasted me. She said, you need to go see your father. And I was like, what? And she said, everyone deserves a second chance. And I thought, wow, this is really powerful coming from my mom. Wow. Given the fact that my mom has suffered so much at the hands of this person, and, given the fact that, this person literally drove my mom to insanity and back. And here she was, my mom saying to give this person a second chance. So powerful. At that point, I pretty much had to do it. So then, a few weeks later, I found myself on public transit, completely bewildered by the fact that I was going on my way to go to meet my father again, to reunite. We're going to meet in a coffee shop. And on the way there, I'm thinking, I wonder if he looked the same, is he going to sound the same? I had these questions in my mind. What had he been doing all this life? Where was he living? I wondered how I might react. Was I going to cry? Was I going to snap and get pissed off? All these different things were happening. And then, I got off the streetcar, I walked in the coffee shop, and I saw this man I recognized immediately. My father he didn't look much different. He was a bit older, but he didn't look much different. And then we sat down, and we calmly had a conversation for about an hour. We exchanged contact information, and just like that, after 8 years, I became reunited with my father. This last memory is called 1,000 Words. So as I reconciled with my father, a memory that I had from way back in the back of my mind reemerged, something I'd completely forgotten about. This is the memory. I was 4 or 5 years old, and it was one of my older brother's birthday parties. So he had all his friends over at the house, and they were playing games, and they were having fun, and cake, candles, the whole nine. They're taking all these pictures, right? And he's taking pictures, he's posing, doing this thing. And I want to be in the pictures too, so I'm like trying to sneak in the back and trying to photo bomb. I'm like, why am I not getting attention? I'm the youngest, right? So anyway, I'm very upset about this. And my mom gets fed up. She starts to yell at me. My brothers are like, get out of here, kid. And so I'm like, I was a very emotional child. I went to my room, I started breaking down and crying. And then the door opens, and the person who walks through that door is my father. And he has a camera. And he's trying to cheer me up. He's trying to get me to smile enough so he can take this picture. And I didn't really smile. I still have the picture. I'm trying to smile through the tears. And I still have that photograph. And I think about that photograph. What it means to me is this, is that, for so many years, I thought, I thought this person, my father, didn't care about me. And then I think about that photograph and I realize that he always did. He cared about me then, and he cared about me now. And maybe he didn't always know how to show it, but it was true. And so, just like that, something kind of clicked in me, something changed, and I started to see him a little differently. So we talked a bit more, we talked more and more and more, and I learned a lot more about him and his new life. I learned that he had remarried. I learned that he had 4 other children after me. I was his first. And I learned that he had become this really devoted family man who was in all of his children's lives, just there, present all the time. Right? So, talking to my father, I learned so much about him, but I also learned a lot about life, and I learned a lot about myself. I learned that change is possible. My father was this person who, for me, was a deadbeat father, didn't pay child support, was never there. He did this complete 180. He became this new person, this God-fearing, devoted family man. Change is possible. I relearned trust. For so much of my life, I was afraid to get close to people. I was afraid to connect. Like I said, I had difficulty making friends or keeping any sorts of relationships. And then connecting with my father and talking, getting to know him again, this new person, allowed me to rebuild the trust with him, which then allowed me to trust others. And then I became open and vulnerable, and I learned how to let people in again and let my guard down. I stopped hiding. I learned how to trust again. Then I learned forgiveness. So my father, part of what happened during our reconciliation, he told me that he regretted the last 8 years of his life so much. He regretted that he wasn't there for me. He became very open about his insecurities and his mistakes. And, me seeing that, seeing him be this way, being so vulnerable, allowed me to start letting go of my anger. And I forgave my father. And I learned also understanding. Again, my father, as we were reconciling, told me all these things about how he grew up. He told me that he was abused and he was neglected. And he told me that he had no positive role models in his life and he wasn't treated well. So then I thought, how was this man who was never treated well as a child supposed to have grown up to learn how to treat others well? And it started to make more sense to me as to why he was the way that he was. And it's not to excuse it, but it started to make more sense. So I had some sympathy and some understanding. So all of this happened, and I was able to give my father a second chance, and giving him a second chance really gave me a second chance as well. It gave me so much. I was finally able to let go of this anger and this sadness and, this insecurity, all these, this feelings that were difficult for me, that I've been holding on to all of my life. I was finally able to let those things go. And I was able to transform and become a different person and a new person myself. I was able to change and open up and get close to people again. So giving my father a second chance gave me a second chance. And, I learned all these things like understanding and forgiveness and those things I was talking about. When I put it all together, I learned how to love again. And I learned how to live. And that's what I've done ever since then. I've since, like you heard in the bio, I've traveled the world. I've met the love of my life and married the love of my life. Right? Yeah. Right now, I'm currently giving my second TEDx talk in the last 6 months. So I can truly say that I'm loving and living my best life. So what I want to say to all of you is that if you have the opportunity to give something or give someone a second chance, it's worth it to take that chance and to try it again, because you never know what might happen. Giving my father a second chance changed my life. It allowed me to heal again, and it allowed me to live again. All I ever really wanted was just to play with you, Words couldn't express the way I hated you. Without you, I don't know how I made it through. So many years I really wanted to say to you, Daddy, I love you.
Sante is incredibly inspiring, and I hope this story provided some great advice for you all. Now we'll be having our 15-minute intermission. But just some housekeeping remarks. Please make sure to throw away all of your plates and cups in any of the garbage bins you see around the foyer. We want to keep this place as clean as possible, so please make sure to do so. Also, this is your opportunity to take more pictures at the photo booth if you have not done so already. And also grab some more drinks and snacks. Remember to use our TedX MartinGrove filter on Snapchat and share some great pictures. Guys, please make sure you're back in the aisle by 8:15. Alright, 8:15.
The one that didn't work was the one that brought in himself. He was like, yeah, there he goes.
I thought it was that.
Wait, so right, so it is confusing.
I was like, okay.
I think I liked. I didn't like the first one. He has just some shitty photos.
Andrew, you're taking any more volume?
Well, no, I don't
We're
think so.
actually pulling audio from this. We're not getting anything off your board.
Not from here, eh?
So is there something turned down when I look at it?
I mean, I can.
So something should be. Here's our output, right?
Yeah.
And you have your master down here.
Yeah.
Here's your monitor.
Yeah. I think we'll try that.
And this thing is working okay?
Beautiful. Yeah, it's on. I know. I put it in the back because I figured it was useless with the new soundboard, but it's good.
And you watch some of our show, like the way
it's really good. Yeah. Cable in there.
Save my bacon, man.
Fantastic.
You have your own timer. Yeah, this one will be timed. This one's out here at 21. I told you, you have the first test. Is it going now? Well, this is why I bring my own mic, I bring my own timers, I bring back up time.
You can tell so right away that you're
It's not my first one.
nice. Like I said, it's pretty low bit rate, but it'll be fun. It'll be good.
Why do these keep everything? I was sitting in the lobby. I was the only one who talked for 5 minutes. So I looked at them right away, and they said, no problem, we probably did some birds. I was never ready to turn the thing around. We weren't that far. See what happened. 2 minutes later, 3 things happened at the same time. The pilot lines up the plane with us to river. Usually not the route. He turns off the engines. Now imagine you're in a plane with no sound. And then he says 3 words. That's unemotional 3 words that I've ever heard. He says, great work. I didn't have to talk to the flight attendant anymore. I could see in her eyes. It was terror. Life was over. And I want to share with you 3 things I learned about myself that day. I learned that it all changes in an instant. We have this bucket list, we have these things we want to do in life. And I thought about all the people I wanted to reach out that I knew, all the fences I wanted to do, all the experiences I wanted to have and I never did. As I thought about that, later on I came up with a saying, which is, I collect bad wines. Because if the wine is ready and the person is there, I'm opening it. I no longer want to postpone anything in life. And that urgency, that purpose has really changed my life. The second thing I learned that day, and this is as we cleared the George Washington Bridge, which was by not a lot, I thought about, wow, I really feel one real regret. I've lived a good life. In my own humanity and mistakes, I've tried to get better at everything I've tried. But in my humanity, I also allow my ego to get in. And I regretted the time I wasted in things that did not matter with people that mattered. And I thought about my relationship with my wife, with my friends, with people. And after, as I reflected on that, I decided to eliminate negative energy from my life. Not perfect, a lot better. I've not had a fight with my wife in 2 years, it feels great. I'm no longer trying to be right. I choose to be happy. The third thing I learned, and this is as your mental clock starts going 15, 14, 13, you can see the water coming, I'm saying, please blow up. Right? I don't want this thing to break in 20 pieces like you see in those documentaries. And as we're coming down, I had a sense of, wow, dying is not scary. It's almost like we've been preparing for it our whole lives. But it was very sad. I didn't know, I love my life. And that sadness really framed in one thought, which is, I only wish for one thing. I only wish I could see my kids grow up. About a month later, I was in a performance by my daughter, first grader, not much artistic talent. Yeah. And I'm bawling, I'm crying like a little kid. And it made all the sense in the world to me. I realized at that point, by connecting those 2 dots, that the only thing that matters in my life is being a great dad. Above all, the only goal I have in life is to be a good dad. I was given the gift of a miracle of not dying that day. I was given another gift, which was to be able to see into the future and come back and live differently. I challenge you guys that are flying today. Imagine the same thing happens on your plane, and please don't. But imagine, and how would you change? What would you get done that you're waiting to get done because you think you'll be here forever? How would you change your relationships and the negative energy in them? And more than anything, are you being the best parent you can? Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. Joining the tea and refreshments. Now here's a funny story about our next speaker. Our co-organizers actually found out she's registered off of Eventbrite. And after a really quick Facebook stalking, they realized that she was a motivational speaker herself. Stefani is dedicating her passion through her voice to helping you and finding their voice and finding their why to their most genuine, truest self. When you don't find Stephanie speaking her heart out, you can find her working on attempting to be a pretzel at the yoga studio, or just being her crazy, fun, and silly self. Here is Stephanie Shore.
Hello. So, before we start today, I want to ask everyone, who here has gone through a breakup? Me! Yeah, there you go. And who here never wants to see that person again? Me! I would break my legs up too, but I don't think that's TED Talk appropriate. You see, tonight, I'm going to make you all feel a little bit better about your breakup. I'm going to tell you about mine. This is going to be my breakup story. You see, I was with this person for 24 years. I know, a lot longer than the marriage is these days. And this is not a typical breakup where they cheated on me, they didn't feel interested on me. I just had to put that in there. See, this girl was perfect. She was perfect. Everyone loved her. Teachers loved her. Parents loved her. Society loved her. So you're just there like, okay, so you've been with her for 24 years. Everyone loves her. Wait, do you all want to see a picture of her? Yeah. You picture. So, you see, this person was so angelic, so sweet, everyone who meets her. And her name is Stephanie 4 months ago. See, the main reason why, despite the perfection that everyone thinks she was, why I left her was because of one main reason. And that is, she only cared about one thing. See, after 24 years of being with this person, she only cared about this one thing. And that one thing is this. It essentially is her life practice, you can call it. Since day one, or you can say the day I was born, she said, listen. So, this is my life practice, and this is how it works. I followed the timeline of doom, aka Todd, and she said, if you follow this, you are guaranteed happiness and success. I was like, okay, show me what it is. So I asked her, well, what is it? And she said, well, this is how it goes, okay? So the timeline of doom, you have about 80 years to live. You're born, and then you go to school, and then you work, and then you get married, and you have kids, you may regret that kids later on. And then you retire. Oh my gosh. The retire part is like the jackpot. Is where they said, this is what you have to live for. And then you die. So I was like, okay, I'll go with it. And, with time after time, I was going with it, and I realized, wow, into my high school years, I realized a lot of people follow this Todd thing. Like, a lot of people are vibing with it. See, I thought if Todd was a person and it had an Instagram, like, I'm talking worldwide followers. Kim Kardashian would have nothing on Todd. It would break the internet. And, we're going through school, we're going through high school, working your part-time job, and I realized, wow, this thing has major control over people. Everyone just follows it without question. People just go to school just because they said, okay, you go to school. And then you go to work just because they say, okay, you go to work. And they just do it. And I was like, wow, this thing is cool. A lot of people follow it. So there it was. I kept going and I kept going. And some days, I was kind of a weird kid. I was that kid. I was always like, why? Why do I have to do this? And that's what I did from time to time. I was like, when you're sitting out your window and it's raining, and I'm just like, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing? And things started to get really, really fishy, and I started to say, whoa, like, this person that I'm with, she's starting to get a little crazy up in here. You know? We graduated school, University Gay. I've never had so many people clap for me in my life when I graduated university. I was just like, wow, this job thing is really working. So many people, even people I don't even know are happy for me. But then, I started to realize in the real world, when we started to work our full-time jobs, 74 months ago, she started to get a little crazy, like really crazy. She wanted control over our lives like no other. She said, listen, we can't be behind. You can't take a break. There's nothing called a break. If you take it, people are gonna laugh at themselves like, okay. Like, I'll keep on going. And she did this other thing that's really funny. She did this thing where I was just like, oh my gosh, who am I with? So, those how are you conversations when you're supposed to ask how that person's doing? But no. She didn't care how you're doing. She just wanted to know where you were on the timeline. Like those filler questions like, hey, how are you? How's school? You getting good grades, little Timmy? Or is your job paying well? Questions like that. And another crazy thing was, she thought she had the ability to emotionally, mentally, socially, and financially diagnose people's lives in those conversations. Here, actually, let me show you what goes on in here, out here, if it was done out here. Let me show you. Okay, so, this is her little imaginary life calculator here, okay? And this is what she does when she comes home. She tells me these little stories. So, for example, there was a student, and there was a student that was like, oh my god, suffering from school, I'm getting such good grades, and this is what she did. According to the life calculator, you are so smart. Oh my gosh, your parents are so proud of you. You're gonna do so well in life. You just go on, keep on doing what you're doing. And then she talked to another person, 30 years old, and told her they don't have a full-time job. So she goes to this in her head. Are you serious? Like, you're such a failure. Are you really doing anything in your life? You're so lazy. Like, you just get out of my face, okay? Just get out of my face. Like, imagine when you said these things out loud to people. And then another person, 27 years old, 28, married with a kid on the way, okay? And then she's like insecure in her head. When is someone going to propose to me? When can I be that happy? That's normal, right? You all do it, right? I've done it. You all do it. You see, if I'm the crazy one here, making such a big deal out of it, since some of you may think that I'm so crazy, how about we get out Stephanie 4 months ago and hear her side of the story? Who wants to hear that? Yeah, let's get her out here, okay? Hi, everyone. How's school? How's work? You all getting good grades? Okay, so Stephanie came to tell me, she wanted me to tell my side of the breakup. Okay, like, listen, I don't think I did anything wrong. Look, here. I worked ever since I was 15, okay? I graduated university on time. I had a full-time job right out of school. I was supervising at the age of 19, managing like 20 restaurants at the age of 21. And listen, my pay was good. Recently, work has been flying me out. I'm giving her the A1 kind of life. And on top of that, I paid off her OSAP, I bought a car, and I was looking at homes here and there. I was even asking her, hey, when's this gonna happen? It was cutting it too close. We're approaching that age. And all she would say was, I'm not happy. I don't feel fulfilled in life. And I just kept telling her, oh my gosh, why can't you understand that? Listen, I told you, if you do the timeline of doom, you'll get happiness and success. What else do I need to tell you? She's crying. Okay, yeah, you need to work 65 years of your life to get there. But what other reason do you need to get that guaranteed happiness? But no, 4 months ago she just up and left me. But whatever. Because she can see what it's really like out there. because, you know, time's a ticking. So you heard her side of the story. What do you think of it? You know, no judgment at all. But to me, that chick is crazy. Oh my gosh, I said, if I need to spend the rest of my life with this person, I'm done, like, deuces. The breaking point was when, she didn't tell you this, but she actually worked like 5 jobs in the span of 3 years because she was suffering from mental breakdowns. And I was just like, listen, let's take a breather. Let's take a break. Maybe we should figure things out. Maybe we should ask, why are we doing the things that we're doing? You know, like, what's the main reason? What does happiness and success even look like? But she was like, are you crazy? You know the amount of people that would laugh at us? Like, what would your parents think of us? What would your teachers, your bosses? What would people on the street, like, that ran down the street, like, you know, like, what would they think of you? And at that point, I was done. I was so done. And of course, going through a 24, you know, like, you've been with someone for 24 years, like, going through a breakup, you know, there's some extensive therapy sessions. And I thought to myself, Stephanie, there must be something really wrong with you. Really wrong with you. Everyone follows this timeline. Everyone was so happy with her. You know, she's so beautiful, she's so sweet. Like, why? Why are you so sad? You know? And therapy session after therapy session, which was aka me, myself in the mirror, I was just like, I'm just not happy. I'm just not happy. And let's say, kick it up a notch when you're sad, you know, crying in your bathroom shower. See, it just so happened that 2 people that I love in my life got diagnosed with cancer back to back. And if being in the hospital for the last couple of months has taught me anything, you know, besides the hospital food, it's taught me that Todd, this thing that so many people follow, it gives people such false hope. Like, it tells you you have 80 years to live. It tells you that you're guaranteed, you know, at 65 to retire. But yet I see people in the hospital when they're about to lose their day tomorrow, let alone like you're slaving away here to reach that 65 and even finally enjoy life. And there's something that someone said, you know, I was eavesdropping on their conversation. So she was on the phone beside, I believe it was her mother. And she said on the phone, listen, can the doctor just hurry up? I really need to go back to work. That right there validated my breakup more than ever. More than ever. I vowed to myself in that seat that I would never, ever have to say that. Ever. So, fast forward to today, 4 months later. If you ask me, how are you? I answer with, I have never been happier. And I can say it honestly for once, like it's the actual truth. And when they go this, they come up and they're like, you know what I do? I do this. Because I'm just like, I am done explaining why I'm happy. Like, why do you have to tell people why you're happy? It doesn't make sense to me. Oh, and another thing, I met someone new. I know your girl bounces back. What? I met someone new. And she was, you know, like, do you want to see a picture of her? Do you want to see a picture of her? Yeah. Okay. So her name is Stephanie Today. And Stephanie Today taught me one very thing. And she's taught me that happiness is an internal state of being. Anything external is just an add-on of how you feel. And when I met her, she was just so happy all the time. I was like, listen, you do half the things my ex does. Why are you so happy? And she said, well, I follow a practice. I said, oh Lord, I just broke up with someone for their practice and now this one has a practice too. So I was okay, fine, what is it? And she said, do whatever the heck that makes you happy. I was like, oh, I've never heard of that one before. She said, yeah. I was okay, fine, what does it look like? How do I get to that? How do I get to happiness and success? And she said, look, Stephanie, let's sit down. Okay, so, you know what? I don't think anyone's ever sat on a TED Talk, so I'll be the first. So she said, Stephanie, sit down, okay? Sit down. And she said, listen, how are you? I said, I'm happy. I'm good. And she's just like, what are you doing right now? And I said, well, if you're talking about right now, I'm talking to a bunch of strangers about my life. And she said, so how does that make you feel? And I said, so freaking happy. And she just smiled. Thank you.
First TED Talk, and I already know she has more waiting for her down the road. What a fantastic talk. Now, for our second MartinGrove student speaker, Simran has a strong support system in her friends who are all here in the audience to encourage her. Give it up for Simran Kumar.
Outside, those of you who don't know me probably think I'm someone who has it all figured out. Because my hair is done and I took time doing my makeup today, I must not have a care in the world. I must have it all together. But people assume if you cannot see it, then it's simply not there. That pain cannot exist unless you're visibly bleeding or you broke a bone and everyone is running over to sign your cast. Pain cannot exist if we cannot see it. But sometimes the most painful battles someone faces are the ones you can't see, the ones that we're too ashamed, too scared to tell you about. So instead, we teach ourselves to smile, to somehow get through the day without drawing attention to ourselves because, let's be honest, nobody likes to talk about the hard stuff. Even I don't like to talk about the hard stuff. I was 10 years old when my life changed. At that point, I didn't really know to what extent my life would change. I just knew that I wouldn't ever be the same after my dad passed away. To simply put it, the signs with him were very clear. I saw him try a little less every single day. He had days where he wouldn't want to leave the house, and he had days where he wouldn't return home. It was like he was physically there, but mentally he was always on another page. He had days where getting out of bed was the hardest job he'd ever have to do. He had days where he felt completely repulsed by all the things he once used to love, and he didn't have enough energy to get through the day, let alone the next one. He had days where he would simply just want to give it up. I'm sure some of you know that feeling as well. And so, we lost him on March 10th, 8 years ago. And at that point, being 10 years old, I didn't know what losing someone meant. I just knew that his ragged breathing as he laid on the hospital bed scared away every single emotion I had left that day. My dad was, as much as he could have been at that point in my life, my best friend. He was never afraid of death in all of my memories. To get straight to the point, I admired him, and I admired him very greatly. But after his death, I knew that all of my childhood memories would die with him. No friend I had could relate, nor could any teacher. What I would consider a normal reaction to grief would result in me getting a bad grade or complete exclusion from my peers. Being 10, the concept of forever didn't really make sense to me, so it hit me later on. I spent most of my years in this school feeling very overwhelmed. I felt a lot of guilt over his death in general, because I couldn't understand why it happened to me. In our teenage years, we still have this opinion that we can cause things to happen because we did something bad to deserve it. I felt like we all did something terrible, and as a result, I lost my dad. Occasionally, however, when I am reminded of him, the reality of his absence hits me so hard. It's like a sucker punch to my gut. I can't breathe. That's okay. I regard those moments as signs that he is not forgotten about. Because of my dad's death, I would never be the same. I was angry, so filled with rage because I couldn't understand why it happened to me. How is it fair that my friends can talk about their dads and present Teds, but when I talk about mine, I speak about him as if it's ancient history? I didn't want to be the only kid who couldn't handle her reality, so I tried to keep up with them. But I realized very soon and very quickly that they didn't share the same struggles I faced on a daily basis. I realized I had grown up a lot faster. I went days without sleeping because my mind was on 150 every single night. It wouldn't stop. For every bad thing that happened to me after, I blamed my dad for not being here helping me get through it. I would literally sit on my bed and say out loud, "Dad, was I not enough for you to fight harder for your life?" I would blame him because it was easy. I blamed him because I saw him give up a few times, so why couldn't I? I became very paranoid. I very easily and very quickly convinced myself that everyone in my life would one day leave me just like he did. This is when my anxiety skyrocketed. I didn't trust anyone. I didn't want to open up, because what was the point? I felt like my life felt like a constant headache. Every single day was a bad day, but I kept telling myself it'll pass, but it never did. I mean, what was the point of trying if nothing made me happy anyways? Suddenly, I found myself living this very slow motion kind of life where days felt like weeks. I lacked motivation to do the simplest of things, and really nothing made me happy anymore. But another failure was simply not an option, so instead, I chose not to go out. I would lie to my family and tell them I was busy with my friends, and I would lie to my friends and tell them I was busy with my family. But it's not the type of busy that people understand, no. I was busy at home taking deeper breaths. I was busy at home silencing irrational thoughts. I was busy at home calming my racing heart. And I was busy at home telling myself that I am okay. Most of my life was spent struggling so hard, trying to make sure that those closest to me didn't see that side, because I had always been known as someone who's strong. But I kept losing people. I kept finding myself in less than ideal situations where I would succumb to my problems instead of finding the strength to fight. And that is okay. Being strong is continuing the fight, even though you know you're going to lose the battle. I taught myself at a very young age how to be stone cold, self-reliant, to hold myself high with a ready smile that could easily fool anyone into thinking that I was ready to conquer the world. So I learned from early on to only cry behind closed doors, with no sound, with the lights off, to break down without anyone knowing, because if no one sees you suffering, do you really suffer? I can always just pretend that things that pain me never really happen, and I can always go about my life acting as if I'm okay. But anxiety is a constant companion. It's always lurking behind the next corner. Anxiety makes me do really, really weird things. It makes me hold on to a test paper for 20 minutes too long because I'm too anxious to walk up to the teacher's desk that's only 10 feet away. I become hyper-aware. I'm always on edge. I can't raise my hand in class because if I raised my hand and I said the wrong answer, I would spend the rest of the day thinking about how stupid I must have looked when the wrong words came out of my mouth. Every time I feel anxious, I peel the skin off the back of my thumb or I crack my knuckles. Or, anxiety is not like math. Anxiety does not add up. I thought I hated calculus, but I hate anxiety more because at least in calculus things add up. Anxiety does not add up. I can't equate to zero. I can't solve for the x. I can't find the square root of the problem because most often and emotions, and I'm feeling them at once. Sometimes I avoid eye contact, and it's not because I'm not listening to what you're saying to me. It's because on most days, I'm too busy listening to the voice inside my own head, praying that through your ears, you can't hear that my voice is on the verge of breaking because my palms are sweaty, my heart is racing, and I forgot how to speak with anything other than insecurity behind my words. And I think people just don't get it. Because we expect those who have mental health problems to walk around with no makeup on, dirty clothes, ragged hair, looking like they're absolutely crazy. But the thing about these mental health problems is that they're exactly the opposite. Instead of crazy, they're normal. Mental health problems are very quiet. We try to fit in. We try to look normal. We try to look exactly like you. But I am telling you that mental health problems do not